So I'm Rose Nicholson, I'm the Heritage Manager for North Lincolnshire Council. I was the one who put the project application together to the lottery. So we have this wonderful collection of local history at the museum here, which is photographs and ephemera that tell loads of really interesting stories about people and communities in North Lincolnshire. And there is the same or a very similar kind of collection at North East Links. And we decided that we would come together for a partnership project to go to the lottery and ask them to support it with a funding grant so that we could get project officers who would bring in lots of really super volunteers who would come and research the wonderful collections that are at both of the venues. And it's been a resounding success. Both museum services were able to recruit big teams of volunteers, and the team here have been fossicking through the stores and looking at all the local history and finding wonderful stories that are going to be on display in the exhibition. The Dynamic Collections Project volunteers have been researching the photographs, they've been researching the objects in the museum's collection, and all that information is being added to our database, our collections database, and eventually the records are being shared through our collections online portal on the website as well. So members of the public will be able to access that information from their homes, but they'll also be able to come into the museum and look at the records and look at the information that we've got about all these wonderful stories that the Dynamic Collections Project officer and volunteers have found. So as well as informing the exhibition that we're putting on at the moment, some of those stories are going to be threaded through the displays that we've got, and we'll also use the information to create content for our website and our social media as well. So there's a massive legacy from all the work that's been taking place over the last couple of years.
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm Community Curator for North Lincolnshire Museum. A part of my role is finding and filling the gaps in the museum's collection. In the past, museums' collection priorities haven't always been the same, and that sometimes has led us with half a story, sometimes no story at all. And sometimes there's a way of looking at an object which reveals hidden histories. North Lincolnshire Museum has over 400,000 objects in its collection, and some of these relate to other countries. Sometimes through the things that they're made of, sometimes through their country of origin, sometimes through what they're built to contain, and sometimes through different art styles.
I'm Jenny, and I'm the Dynamic Collections Project Officer at North Lincolnshire Museum. So the Dynamic Collections Project, documenting Northern Lincolnshire's history, is a National Lottery Heritage Fund project. I started in my post in December 2023, and we recruited a team of volunteers that began volunteering sessions in February of 2024. So the project is all about connecting communities with the collection, so with their shared history. It's a collaborative documentation project, and volunteers have been taking part in training on how to work with the collection. So things like object handling, digitisation, learning about things like how do we assign object numbers. They've done preventive conservation training, they've done all sorts, and we've had such a lovely dedicated team of volunteers. There's currently about, just over 30 volunteers involved in the project, so we're a big team. Lots of the project members come in for sort of weekly sessions, and some come in for less regular sessions, so we ask volunteers to just commit whatever amount of time that they can that fits around their lives. The first part of the project, our priority was really on the documentation side of the collections, so working with the local history collections. The volunteers have been working to enhance the object records, so collecting information such as dimensions, enhancing object descriptions, carrying out research on the objects, and by digitising them as well, we're working to make them more accessible and discoverable for audiences. We've really enjoyed preparing for the exhibition. So the volunteer team have been looking for stories, looking to discover stories during their documentation work. And they've uncovered so many interesting stories that we couldn't include them all in the exhibition. So we found different ways to create digital outputs for some of them. One of the key topics that has come up during exhibition preparations has been about community spirit and the importance of community spirit to North Lincolnshire's history. So that's something that we really wanted to get across in the stories we tell in the exhibition. And we've also been asking questions about whose voices are represented in the collections. We really wanted to include a variety of perspectives in the stories that we document, but also in terms of the stories that we share too.
Hi, I'm Sally.
And I'm Sue.
We started volunteering because I was interested in working at the museum, and I contacted them and they said they were just starting this project in the new year, and so both of us came along and on the open day applied and were fortunate to be accepted.
What we found out was that volunteering wasn't just about giving back. We felt that we were gaining something as well. It was sort of working with like-minded people and also sort of having a sense of belonging.
We've been learning new skills. We did some research in boxes that we were given to look through that had different material in them so that they could be digitised, which is what we spent a lot of time doing, to go onto a database that meant that anybody could access it to find out what was available in the museum.
My name's Olive Blanchard. I've been involved in the project since January. I've been investigating hauntings, legends and locations near the Mabel Peacock family house, Temple Bath, Botsford Beck, St John's Well and St Peter's Church. I've been involved in digitisation of the documents, like putting them down on an Excel folder, making sure that they're all there, measuring, seeing what condition they are in and making sure that everything is in order. The items that I mostly like were the stage programmes from the Plowright Theatre. Love seeing them and seeing which theatre companies they are, what type of, when they were and everything like that.
My name's Michael Toyne. I've been involved with the project for just over a year now. I've been documenting documents and items within the collection of the Scunthorpe Museum, and also doing my own research, which is the Normanby and Sheffield military hospital during the First World War. One of the things that I've enjoyed working with is the list of the soldiers that was hospitalised and convalescing at Normanby Hospital, and sort of doing research into why they was there and how long they was there, and whether it was from the local area or from far away and things like that.
I'm Dan Zetterstrom and I've been involved with the volunteer project for around about a year now. I think seeing like the vast amount of different pieces of like documents that we've got, everything from like diaries to letters and official documentation. I think there was a World War I trench map that I was quite interested in, with all the personal notes that were on it, and also because it's from a rather obscure place in the world. And yeah, I think seeing these objects really getting into people's lives from the past, I think is quite interesting, yeah. I think the collaboration of the project, getting to know these different people who've all come from different interests and backgrounds, and being able to get their perspectives as well as finding ways to work together on the project has been very valuable.
My name's Holly Haynes, I'm 25, I'm a lifelong Lincolnshire local. I've always been interested in history and I've been involved with the project for a year now. We've been doing all sorts, from analysing documents to assessing their condition, to doing database work, photographing, scanning, so many different things. I love working with all of it, it's all so interesting, it's amazing. But especially I've been focusing on the Peacock archives, so Mabel Peacock and her family. For the exhibition, my focus is on Mabel Peacock and her folklore work, and especially her plays, which has been a very interesting process. I've loved everything about it, but especially sort of playing detective, trying to figure out who this Lucian Wetherell character is, who is included among Mabel Peacock's plays, but we can't find any reference to him anywhere in any of the rest of the archive or the family history, nowhere. So trying to play detective, trying to find out who that is.
Part of this project, we sketched our own pictures, and we had the illustrator come in the other week to give us a rough guide how to draw our own pictures. Now we found it quite entertaining, didn't we, Jenny? We did.
My favourite thing is the Vikings.
What is it that you like about the Vikings?
What they used in battle, so like swords, axes, shields, where they lived, where they're from. They came on Viking ships. We are going to do a presentation in Leeds on Thursday next week, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that we've been doing in the museum makers.
What's your name?
Simon.
Simon. And what job do you do on the farm?
Muck pigs out, me.
Muck the pigs out. You're farmer Sam,
I am.
aren't you? Because we've been doing a farming project, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've all been given jobs.
Yes.
On a farm trail.
On the farm trail.
And what's your job on the farm trail?
Feeding the chickens.
Yeah, you're the chicken man, aren't you?
The chicken coop.
The chicken coop, that's it. Yeah.
And why did you want to work with the farming collections?
I like to work on the farming thing because I like to help out other people.
And what have you been up to during the project?
Doing about the history and the history where we come from, and then the farm, like where it comes from, and the farms come from miles away, from in the 18th century to the century now, because it was like we were certainly allowed one egg, a couple pieces of bread, and bits like that. But now it's shot up how much eggs are now and bread.
But what's been wonderful is to see the sort of curiosity and the moments of connection that the volunteers have with the objects when they discover something that resonates with them. I think it's helped to create a real sense of belonging, and the bonds that team members have formed between one another is just so wonderful to see. From our perspective as well as the museum team, we have learnt so much about some of the objects in our collections. So volunteers have brought their local knowledge and their expertise from their own areas of interest. So it's been so wonderful and such a privilege to work alongside them.